What happens when the career identity you built no longer fits who you're becoming? In this episode, Ana Denis shares why career reinvention has become a lifelong skill and why so many professionals are being forced to redefine their identity at work. We talk about the emotional side of starting over, the surprising power of human connection during transitions, and why the next step in your career may begin with a single conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome to Career Growth for Working Women. If you're ambitious, capable, and quietly carrying more than your role reflects, you're in the right place. I'm Shannon, promotion and compensation coach, and I help women fast track their next promotion by teaching them how to show their value so clearly leadership can't overlook them. Here, we talk about career advancement, visibility, burnout recovery, and building confidence without burning yourself out or shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. So grab your coffee or reheat it for the third time and let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the show. My guest today is Ana Denis, and her work focuses on something many professionals are experiencing but rarely talk about openly: career reinvention. A generation ago, many people followed a relatively predictable career path. Today, most of us are expected to reinvent ourselves multiple times across our working lives. New roles appear, industries shift, and the professional identities we once relied on no longer fully describe who we are or where we're going. And has spent more than 20 years working in communication, marketing, and leadership development, studying how people express their ideas and build trust. Through her research and interviews with women across more than 20 countries, she began exploring how professionals navigate the emotional and practical challenges of career change. Her work now focuses on helping people articulate who they are becoming, especially during moments when their professional identity is shifting. Ana, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's an honor.
Oh, thanks. So, all right, career reinvention. You say it's a new lifelong skill. So, what changed the way people experience their careers compared to a generation ago?
So, for our parents, I think many people will relate to that. For our
Yes.
parents, I mean, my mom has worked her whole life in just one institution. She's
Right.
been a teacher and she's been teaching at the same university for 30 years. And
Wow.
that is quite a normal situation for many of our parents. But if we look at ourselves, I was growing up and looking at it and like almost scared, like, why? Because there
Right.
are so many interesting things in life and the technologies and it's all developing so fast. And nowadays, it's impossible to see yourself in the same field, even in the same field for like 30 years, not even
Right.
talking about seeing yourself in the same profession. And
Right.
even if you prefer to stay in the same profession, then if you were a marketer 20 years ago and you're a marketer today, so that's quite a shift, right? So
Yes.
you had to be good with printing back then, and there was basically no internet, and now there are
Right.
so many platforms and the ways to develop your brand and help companies to promote themselves. I mean,
Right.
reinvention is something that we use daily and that we probably it makes sense to learn that even further.
Right. I mean, I would even assume adding AI into all of that, like that has changed even just how people work and function in their job, even if they did stay in the same position for
Right.
several years.
Exactly. And I consulted many people who have switched careers, but they are also switched countries.
Oh,
So
yes.
you imagine, for example, a journalist who was a journalist, let's say in Spain, in Spanish, and then they switch countries because their life circumstances change. And now they have to do the same in the Netherlands. And that's a completely different story. And so it turns out they have to reinvent themselves and somehow match their skills with the market and find out which career is ahead of them.
Yes. And I feel like when we say reinvention, that can be really like if you tell someone, "Oh, you have to go reinvent yourself," that has a lot of emotions behind it. How do you um make that into a positive thing with the people you work with?
So it's actually funny because this story started with my own story, as it often happens.
Yeah.
When you are passionate about something, it should have had some impact on your own life. So 4 years ago, I moved to the Netherlands, and I'm originally from Russia.
Okay.
So that was quite a shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just realized that the business landscape is different. My skills that were valuable back then don't really, they aren't really a match here. And somehow people aren't just selecting me. So I was applying for jobs and getting rejections. I was applying as a speaker and still getting rejections. So I was shocked because
Right.
honestly, I've never dealt with rejections before. Like
Right.
every door was open. I was always recommended. I always knew someone. And in a new country, you feel like you are starting your life from scratch.
Right. I
And
bet.
that's what true reinvention is. I know it is like this for a lot of people, and it's much less extreme, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
I wouldn't advise going through this experience exactly, but still, it just makes you think of things you never even considered before, like who am I? What is identity? And when it comes to my path forward, should I rely on my skills? Should I rely on my CV? Or should I just rely on my passion and where I see meaning, where the direction I would love to continue with? So that was one of the questions that I was kind of struggling with because I was always relying on my CV and my skills.
Right.
My career was important. And the first career I built, I worked for a cybersecurity company for 10 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
before that, I worked in media. So I was like quite a tech person and I was struggling with that idea. Like I always felt like I can continue that career path. So I,
Uh-huh.
I would apply to a tech job in marketing and I would get accepted. But then when I was applying and I was getting rejections, but it was painful on its own.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
then when I truly started to listen to my own voice, I realized that I don't really want this job. So
Mm-hmm.
something in me was just saying like, yeah, well, it pays the bills and it's a nice job. I mean, you don't have to work at 2 a.m. and go somewhere. So it's
Right.
comfortable. It's a comfortable office, very
Right.
nice people, very nice industry. But then something is missing, and this
Mhm.
something is a meaning. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that very often happens midlife. We like look at our careers and just ask, where is the meaning? what's
Right.
what's the meaning of all of that? What's my legacy? What do I want further in life? Do I want to dedicate the next 10 years to the same career path, or
Right.
would I love to, do I see myself in a different field and I would love to do something completely different? So that's a question.
That's a good question too. Because I feel like sometimes women put a lot of their identity into their position that they hold. And so now it's with, like you're saying, you're changing. You don't necessarily need to be putting as much identity into that position or title or even career field because you need to be putting that identity in who you truly are.
Exactly. And that is another reason why switching careers is so difficult, because we
Yeah.
get attached to these labels. And these labels, I mean, they're important. And
Right.
it varies across cultures. The importance of these labels varies across cultures. And in some cultures, your status and even the car you're driving, the house you have, all of that matters.
Right.
And not only in terms of some just financial freedom, but also in terms of respect, because that might be seen as respect from other people. And it also impacts how people see you and what opportunities they give you as well. And of course, we get attached to that. If you were previously a CEO and then you have to downgrade to being a junior employee because circumstances changed.
Right.
It hits you, and it's
Yeah.
difficult. I'm not going to deny it. So this is an extreme example of reinvention. But then Again, if you're able to push yourself through this discomfort, and most probably you have no choice if you have
Right.
to take this path, then you find out other things about yourself
Right.
primarily, which
Yeah.
might be surprising.
Yeah, I would think that you could find out and learn more about who you are as a person and different values that you have, and then those can impact you and help probably the next time you're going through some kind of transition.
Exactly. When you start, so what happens, especially in today's noisy world, we all start building our brands. Just
Yes.
going online, start posting something because all the LinkedIn guys say that you have to become the person who posts every day consistently, and we try to keep that consistency throughout all of these posts. But eventually, I believe that the best approach is just to listen to yourself. And for
Mhm.
that, you need silence. And silence is gold in this world because most of us are not able to just afford ourselves even several days without going through Instagram feeds and LinkedIn feeds and having all of these notifications. I get like
Right.
50 emails per day. And,
Yes.
and and I try to unsubscribe. I really try. I just can't. It's
I
always
know,
something
I
new.
know, I get
So if you afford yourself that moment of silence for a week or a month, because reinvention is a process. If it doesn't happen within like this, it's okay because you have to meet yourself. You have to figure out who you are, and that might take a few months as well, and that's normal. It doesn't have it doesn't mean that you have to stay away from all the devices and the agenda for several months, but you just have, yeah, that's what I did. I was just trying to hear my own voice. So what do I need right now? What's important? And also whenever a certain opportunity or a certain person appears in my life, I was trying to see the feelings that this person or opportunity arouses inside me. um, so for example, I was completely stuck and lost, and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this country because maybe it's better to leave to another country where I will feel that I belong.
Right.
And then at some moment, I was just scrolling my feed. That is funny.
Of course.
It all happened because of the feed, but it was
Right.
an app that lists events in the area, and I saw a TEDx event. And
Oh, wow.
immediately, like, my heart just stopped. And I was like, oh, that is important for me. I would have never guessed. I would have never came up with this idea on my own. But then when I saw it and when I just heard the reaction,
Right.
I was absolutely sure that it's somehow consistent with all the values, all the beliefs, everything that I would love to contribute to in this world. Like, this is it. This is the
That's
opportunity. I can't just screw it up.
That's awesome. I think that's so interesting. And how did you deal? I mean, you made this huge transition, and maybe some of our listeners here are going to be making that transition, or maybe it's smaller. But how did you deal with like not having a long-term plan? Because I know that a lot of women they find security with a long-term plan, and now it's kind of you had to make a big transition and reinvent. But like you said, now it's happening more and more and more. What kind of mindset work has to be done for that, or just to make sure that everybody's processing that in a healthy, positive way?
So when I worked in corporate, I really valued what I had. So I had a truly comfortable job. I had good compensation. I knew that. It allowed me to travel and to uh, just live the life that I wanted to live. But then something was missing. And then when I was trying to reinvent myself, like a few years back, I have to say I had some external help because, as I said, I'm originally from Russia, and then I moved to the Netherlands in 2021, and in 2022 the war started.
Oh, yeah.
It impacted my business. I lost 50% of my income.
Wow.
I lost some friends because they stopped talking to me, and well, a few other things. So basically, when something like this happens in your life, you lose the ability to build a long-term plan for a while. So for a year, I was like, I couldn't plan ahead. Well, I could plan ahead for 3 days maybe. So I had some kind of a direction what I wanted to do, but it was a process,
Right.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure that for most people don't get to experience this, and that is good.
Right, right.
But I would say that back to what I said earlier, we overestimate the power of status and our standard of living. Because
Mhm.
back then, I was thinking that if I someday lose my standard of living, I won't be able to live.
Right.
I will just hate myself because, yeah, because that's who I am. I have that status. I'm a smart woman, independent woman who built her career from scratch. And now I was just in a position when I'm not even sure if whether I'm going to stay in the country. So what do I do?
Mhm.
I basically have
Right.
no profession. Well, the way I saw it,
Right,
that was
right.
a little bit on the pessimistic side back then. But I was
Well,
like, yeah,
that's understandable.
yeah, I almost have no profession. I have no home. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I know no one in this country. So I slowly started to rebuild. And one thing that helped me most was human connection.
Oh,
Definitely. And I
yes.
think it's so important to discuss this in the age of AI when we feel
Mhm.
that we have to learn all of these technologies. We have to keep up with the pace because every technology is developing at a speed of light.
Right.
And then what about us? What about our needs? Because
Right.
we all have the basic human needs. We want to be loved, we want to belong, we want to be recognized.
Yes.
And AI, well, it might help. I'm not saying that AI is a bad thing and you should stay away from it at all costs. But again, I think with the development of technologies and platforms, we really stopped talking to one another, maybe.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
that was the reason I actually started to write a book. I was like, I'm lost, I'm stuck. I feel like I have nothing to say, but I'm ready to listen. I would
Right.
really love to learn from other women who had a similar path or who had to reinvent their life from scratch in another country, switching their profession. So I started to search for these women. I started to talk to them. And when I started, when I reached out first, I felt really lonely. I
Oh,
felt good about the fact that I have to be the interviewer because
right.
that would mean that I would not be talking about myself because I was really ashamed of the place I was in. But then
Mhm.
as I started developing these conversations, I realized that everyone has struggles. And
Yes.
gosh, sometimes you realize that your struggles, not to underestimate them, but they're nothing compared to what other people are facing in their careers
100%.
and lives. And
Yeah.
then just listening to them makes you realize how blessed you are.
Yes.
And then you can grow up from there.
Yes.
But the connection happens only when you are willing to listen to another person.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful because I agree. Human connection is so important. Like my daughter, she's a touchy person. She loves to just touch, but I love to just meet and talk with people. And so for me, it's just, I love that connection. And, you learn something, you learn about your life. You can help somebody because maybe that person comes into your life and you've been through a similar situation and you can help them, or they help you because you're struggling and they realize it, but you don't feel alone anymore. And I'm sure you felt
Exactly.
that as well as you started having those conversations. Like, I'm not alone. I'm not on an island by myself. I actually have these people around me.
Exactly. And funny thing, every woman I was speaking with felt alone.
Oh,
So she was like, but yeah, and after the
yes.
conversation, I would do an interview where they basically had to tell their story. And well, after that, I reflected back, trying to support them because it should have been strange talking to a random person, and many of them didn't know me.
Right.
Talking to a random person who just listens to you and goes like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then I try to support the conversation and just reflect back what I heard and what resonated with me, and also the impact that their story had on me. And they
Right.
were like, I would I didn't know that. I
Wow.
never saw it this way. I never saw this perspective of my story. And also like beauty in the eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
whenever I was listening to their stories, I was admiring their courage and commitment and what they did with their lives. And they were like, yeah, it's my life. Okay. It's
Yeah.
just it's not too unique. It's not too
Right.
special. And for me it
Right.
was.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
think what also happens in this connection is we learn how to see ourselves from different various perspectives,
Yes.
and also
Yes.
realize something about our self-worth, something
Yes.
new.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I love that. Well, where can my listeners follow you or learn more about what you do?
So I have a website, anadenis.com. Feel free to check it out. I also invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ana Denis. You might find it on YouTube. And my book, Reinvento, an expat's guide to reinventing your career and identity, is now out on Amazon. So you might want to check this out as well.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So as we wrap up, I always love to leave the listeners with a small action step or shift change that they can make this week. So, what is something that you would challenge them to do?
All right. So I want you to think about the question on your mind. There is something bothering you right now. I can tell for sure. So pick one question and then try to think of another person who could help you solve this. And not necessarily as a service provider or a business owner, just another person you could talk to, who could connect with you, who could share more about that, and just message them and arrange this call to discuss, because that's what really changed everything for me. I just started to network with people, talk to them at events and online, and then it turns out, first, you're not alone. You're never alone in the problem
Right.
you're solving. And second, people around you know how to solve this. So
Right.
go talk to them, and it
Exactly.
will be a lot of joy, a lot of fun, and you'll meet some amazing people. That's I'm sure of.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, Anna, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for inviting me.
Before you go, I want you to know this. You don't have to figure out your next move alone. If you're feeling stuck, under-recognized, or unsure what's realistically possible in your current role, I offer promotion strategy calls where we walk through your goals, your role, and what makes the most sense for you next. No pressure, just clarity. You can book that call through the link in the description. And if this episode resonated, would you share it with another woman who might need it right now? Leaving a review also helps this show reach more women who are ready for real career growth. I'll see you next time.